Welcome to the Vibe Business Podcast, bringing positive business vibes to take you to a new level. My name is Nomi Farouk, and after a decade of working with businesses, it's time to inspire the next generation, chatting to the most influential business people of today. In today's podcast, we chat to Rami Boghdadly, where we'll be discussing all things marketing and more. Stay tuned and feel the vibe. Cool, let's get straight into it. Let's tell the audience what you're all about. Who are you and what do you do?
So I'm a marketing consultant. I started off my career in advertising. I was working with a few big brands, went over client side, spent some years over in the Middle East, came back, did a lot of contract work, and ultimately now I focus on going into clients, so looking at what the problems are they have within their marketing departments, what we can do to change it, how we can make it more efficient. And because I'm obviously quite neutral, then I recommend to them effectively what they need to do within their business, whether it be, so doing some video, whether it be doing, having to revisit their website, whether it be their marketing automation platform, social media, whatever it is. And I'll recommend it, and obviously some of it I'll implement. Some of it, obviously, they will get their, external parties, external agencies to work with, or I'll bring in external agencies to help them set everything up and get the ball rolling again.
Cool. So you're in the magic and mysterious world of marketing.
I am.
Good stuff. So how did you? So you've set up your own consultancy, right? You're running your own kind of agency. How did you kind of get into that?
Well, I think to be honest, it's been a long time coming. I work on client side. When you're working in a marketing department, you tend to be quite tunnel visioned, and you do not see the bigger picture. So you can't see what's going on around. You can't see what new technology is coming in. You can't see if there's a different trends in the markets, because you're so focused on the day-to-day running of your business. Whether it be in a massive marketing team or whether it be, one person marketing team, that's the way it is. So it became really difficult for me to keep my skills up to date because I just didn't have the time for it. 9 a.m, 8 a.m, you're there, you're finishing at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. It becomes really difficult. And it's really when I went to do my master's, and I used that as an opportunity to open my eyes and to educate myself a lot more. And through that, you can actually see the world with lots of different colors. And that's where I said I'd much rather be on the outside and helping those on the inside than be on the inside and just always trying to find the next fire to put it out.
So how many years have you been on this kind of entrepreneurial journey?
It's something I've always wanted to do. So I've always wanted to work for myself. I've always wanted to be a bit different.
Yeah.
My entire family are doctors, like literally everybody. So that already puts me in the black sheep scenario. And I've never really wanted to work for the man, but you have to pay your dues. Work for the man for a bit. Become your own businessman. Become your own, your own man, and then realize that actually the client is also the man. And you're just back to square one again. And just with more people.
Cool.
This time.
Cool. Awesome. And could you talk to us a bit about like your marketing expertise? Because obviously you've been in marketing for a while. You've worked for the man, and you worked for different clients, and you worked abroad as well. You worked in different countries, so it'd be interesting just to get some information about what your experience is there. Yeah.
So obviously I worked over in Saudi Arabia. And a lot of the work was based in Saudi Arabia, but I was doing some work throughout like Middle East, North Africa, and it's quite varied. So in advertising, obviously you'll deal with different clients on different projects. Saudi Arabia has fantastic budgets, had fantastic budgets, so it was really nice to be able to do TV commercials, and everything was about big production. There was no digital at the time. And to be fair, one of the reasons for kind of saying rather do marketing than do medicine is because, once you graduate, you're done. That's it. I didn't realize that there was going to be so much. I don't think anybody kind of saw it to this degree of how much you have to keep up to date with it. But yeah, so over there it was a lot about doing rebrands, looking at the businesses, understanding where their problems are. The clients obviously over there are a lot bigger teams, so they have a lot more resource to invest in research, and they know more about what they want. But there's giving examples. General Motors, 2008. Obviously, General Motors went into Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
Yeah.
In Saudi Arabia, they tend to drive the very big American SUVs, nice seven-seaters,
Yeah.
4.8 liter engine,
Yeah.
0 to 60 in about a month, and it will consume so much fuel that you need a dinosaur dying beside you just to keep it going. But that's that was the aspiration for a lot of people in Saudi Arabia, and that was the vehicle. The Suburbans and the Tahoes were the vehicles that they really aspired to drive. Now, General Motors, one of their reasons for going to Chapter 11 bankruptcy was they were also of that mindset, but the rest of the world had moved on. And the rest of the world needed smaller cars because fuel was too expensive. They needed more energy efficient cars. So how do you bring that into a country where that's not what they want? The guys are coming into the showroom saying, no, listen, this is the car that my dad drove. This is the car that I've always wanted to have. How do you get them into the smaller vehicles all of a sudden? So it was a massive change in their market, and how you have to market to people, and the message that you put out to people as well. So what we did was we actually did a complete transformation where the focus was purely on the younger audiences, younger demographics. And Saudi Arabia actually has a population, I think 60% of it at the time was under the age of 35. So you had a massive population that nobody was targeting. That's when I kind of came in. We changed everything around, and our entire marketing message was around those people. So it was about promoting to them where they are throughout, in universities, in the coffee shops where they'd hang out. It's where the youth were, in the gyms. We used to do a lot of events to promote the vehicles there, let them test drive the cars, and also to kind of link back to the aspirational. We focused on the Corvette, which is obviously Chevrolet's big sports car. And we built a members club specifically for Corvette owners, so they had access to special facilities. They had their own private area where they can go and hang out when the cars are being serviced, and that again built in that youth cycle of we want to be part of this brand. And we don't need that big SUV. These are affordable cars that we can actually buy, and it really changed the way that GM sold in Saudi Arabia. I mean, the first year we sold 12,000 cars in one city, which is never heard of. We were actually buying cars from other dealers just to sell them because we created such a message and such a brand that is relatable to that target group.
Cool. I guess what you've probably done well there is to get into the mindset of the audience, basically, and it's probably a key factor in marketing is getting inside and defining your audience really well. That allows you to do that.
Yeah, you have to know exactly who they are, what they're after, what the pain points are, and what your pain relievers are for them. And then the reality is, in that scenario, you are talking about pain relievers, quite difficult. I want the same car my dad drove. You can't afford that car because A, the government is not subsidizing you the way they used to subsidize people. B, you've got limited opportunity for employment at that moment in time, so salaries are quite low. And so you need to show that this car can take you to that aspirational stage, even though it's not actually there at the moment. And that message that we built in, that we are part of your brand, we're part of the youth market, is what actually really shifted it. It took about 3 years before these small cars actually outsold large cars in Saudi Arabia. But I'd like to think that that was a starting point, really, and a big change within the industry.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. And how, obviously, we're here in the UK now, and this is where you've been operating from.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the approach to marketing is different due to various barriers like culture. So, marketing in Saudi is probably going to have its challenges, and marketing in the UK is going to be different. Obviously, for people who haven't been to Saudi and stuff, like what challenges were you posed with, or how is it different?
So obviously massive differences here. And my first shock to the system was, massive reduction in budgets. My budget over there was 30 million. My first budget here was like 2.5 grand. So, obviously it's like, what do you do with it? The big difference here is, and what I think works really well, it's about being more efficient with your spend. And it really allows you to kind of hone your skill set a little bit more. Where can I save, that 30, 40 quid to add it somewhere else? How can I increase my return on investment? And that's why I got a lot in. I got really into the digital side of it. So when you're talking about conversion rates, I had a client of mine who the nature of his business, his products were quite low value products, and very competitive market. But how do you then increase that ROI for them? So it's about, how do I use the current customers that we have on board to increase the average order value? And there's a lot of conversion rate optimization and a lot of time consuming work that is required to just slightly alter a website left and right, change the way your marketing communication messages are with them, changing, using traditional email marketing of just sending out promotional messages to using more marketing automation platforms to help really build that loyalty and build that engagement with the customers. And that actually shifted an average order value from £40 to £70. It took 12 months to do it, but that's kind of the skill set that kind of comes along with it. You have to be a little bit more creative and a little bit different. And the UK is a very, very busy market. So to stand out is a lot harder than it is, obviously, in somewhere like Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, sure. And is there, like, obviously tied into marketing is the final output, so whether it's a creative or whether it's a sort of creative ad, some written copy, or a video, for example. Did you find like barriers to that in terms of what you could and couldn't do?
Well, there's definitely a lot of barriers to that. Specifically, if you take a look at video has been historically quite an expensive media.
Sure.
So obviously things have moved a lot nowadays, and it becomes a lot simpler. And yeah, there's still obviously some people use their iPhones for taking shots. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the best, but you can actually obviously use that.
Mm-hmm.
So that has obviously had a massive impact on how we what we can and can't do. Really, we've had the luxury that there's so many new tools in the market though.
Yeah.
I think there's about 9,500 different softwares available from a marketing perspective, effectively, and that's growing day on day. And these tools are designed really to make it more efficient and make it easier for marketeers to actually get work done at a much lower cost than they used to. One of the challenges I think that a lot of people don't kind of focus on too much when it comes to budget, though, specifically, is all these things have become very much subscription based.
Yeah.
And it's only at the end of the month that you realize that actually my subscription is probably a little bit more than my budgets.
Yeah.
So it is something that you have to be wary of.
Sure.
But as the technology changes, each one of them brings their own challenges. Biggest
Cool.
one, as I said, is going to be the video. Another big challenge, obviously, is use of social.
Yeah.
It's not in your hands when Facebook changes their algorithm. It's not in your hands when Google changed their algorithm.
That's right.
And these are things that are going to massively impact a business, especially a small business that doesn't really have an entire team behind them that can actually tell them why is it not working.
Sure.
I've had a client who came up to me and said, my Facebook, it was great, and I was getting all this reach and all this engagement, and I'm literally getting 2 or 3, I'm going to sack the guy who's been doing it. Say, well, wait a minute. Oh, you're sacking him without actually knowing the full story behind it. So, that is, again, brings up their own challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think this brings on to the sort of next point you touched on, tech and social and stuff. In terms of marketing, how it used to be and how it is now, there's probably a drastic difference. Maybe the main principles are the same, but marketing used to be something else. I mean, if you watch a series like Mad Men, for example,
Good days.
that's what that's what marketing used to be, right? That's the big companies used to go to them agencies and say, we need an ad, or we need a slogan, or we need a brand. Go away and think up some creative for it and pitch it to us. I guess nowadays that landscape has changed drastically. There's a ton of marketing agencies out there, a ton of marketing consultants. Some are qualified, some aren't, but all claim to make your brand better. I mean, I guess what is drastically different in 2019, and what should people be focusing as far as marketing is concerned?
I think the biggest thing is research.
Yeah.
I think, and you kind of hit on it when you're talking about some people are qualified and some people aren't. And even within large agencies, that doesn't mean that they're actually qualified for that job just
true.
because they get a job in a large agency. The biggest thing that I've seen, and one of the key points and key factors that I've learned, doing the masters, was that part, is that understanding and just looking at research on a generic level is one thing. But when you actually dig in and try to understand the personas properly, understand your customer base, and understand the market, and understand their journey, all these things, when you put them together, you might actually find that you've actually been trying to catch the wrong type of fish to begin with. And that is the key point, is people are not doing enough research at the moment to fully develop and understand who their target audience is. I've had a client who actually, we had to recommend a complete change from a business to consumer model to business model. Now, obviously, that recommendation was based on data. It was based on a lot of academic research, and it put it down in a way for them that there was no arguing with the results. This,
Sure.
You'll do what you're doing is fine, and you're gonna keep going along nicely for a few years. You'll be absolutely fine. But if you want to grow the business, that's not going to work anymore. Now, obviously, it was like the pin hit the floor and there was a massive explosion. Everyone was just shocked by what I came up with. But they have actually started doing that, and they have been implementing it, and they have been seeing a massive growth. It's cost them a lot because it's a big shift, but it has, reaped the rewards at the end of it, and they are seeing that growth now. And that's the biggest thing that I think people need to kind of look at.
Cool. Here's a question. Do you think there's marketers are more responsible, or marketing is more responsible now than it used to be? Because this is just an example of the guys did something out for Vibe Manchester, and it was about a film called War School, and it's how government are marketing specifically to kids to get them into the army. And I saw another post on LinkedIn the other day, and they said it's irresponsible marketing, or it's marketing that shouldn't be allowed. I don't know if that's true, but is there? I don't know, have marketers become more adventurous, or do you think that's kind of been trimmed down now with kind of regulation and stuff?
I think it's very difficult now to be adventurous. And the reason why is that, you've only got a few seconds to capture someone's attention now.
Yeah.
And, if we take it back a bit, you had TV before, you could actually pause TV and record live shows. Yeah. You had 30 seconds where you're guaranteed that somebody's going to watch it. If they're not going to make a cup of tea, they'll be watching your ad. And then you have print and you have outdoor, which again, you have a little bit more time to get a key message across. Facebook was still within that print and outdoor section because people had the time and they did look at it. But as we move as consumers, and with every generation, they want more instant gratification. It's just shorter and shorter time span. So if you look at Instagram, the ability to scroll through Instagram, scroll through those pictures, it gives you, barely any time at all to actually look at it. So the creativity becomes harder and harder in a much smaller and shorter time span that you would normally have. This is why people sometimes go a little bit out of the box. And it is a challenge. You can't do it with every campaign. You can't do it with every post. But the challenge is to find it. And if it is a negative one, and if you have people complaining about it, that talking point will still bring out, as far as I'm concerned, as a marketeer, if it gives me people coming onto my website, just for a curiosity point of view, some will be negative, but at the same time, you might be able to convert other people that way.
Cool. And all this sort of fight for people's time and attention with the short spans, do you reckon it's made people more creative? So you have to raise the bar now and kind of...
Yeah. I mean, without it, obviously, going back to why are people using video instead of just still images? The video is more engaging. It stops you. It gives you that ability to stop and go, okay, let me take a look at the video. and that is going to be the challenge, is how do you keep maintaining that level?
Yeah.
And video does become expensive if you're doing that day in, day out.
That's right.
So part of it is really, it's not just about getting that, it's about the follow through with it. So the challenge is you get that campaign, you get that video, that single message that you want to get out, get people to look at it, but what are you doing with them afterwards? And that's where the skill then really comes in. So somebody goes on, sees a video on Instagram, where does it take them? Does it take them to a landing page? If they go onto a landing page, what do they do on that page?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you capturing the data? How are you following through with that data and speaking to them later on?
Cool. Awesome. So like, we're going to touch on a few marketing campaigns, or your favorite marketing campaigns or advertising campaigns. So what would be your all-time favorite, and why?
So I've got one for almost every media, to be fair.
Okay.
The TV, it's not my favorite campaign from a creativity point of view, as in the TV ad itself, but it's actually for the ringtones Crazy Frog.
Oh yeah.
Now, for the older audiences, they remember it, and they'll probably sit there, go, yeah, and smile and think of the little song now.
The annoying,
The annoying frog. But for me, that was really clever, because that campaign, the annoyance of that campaign, with the way they actually bought media, what they did was said, you know what, every slot that is dead, we'll buy that slot, knowing full well that the value of that slot on TV becomes actually worthless. If they're going to, might as well get rid of it.
Yeah.
So that was a great campaign from that side. If you go to out of home, the day that they banned tobacco advertising, in London, they Silcut bought one billboard. They put an acrylic screen around it and had this really big woman singing opera, and it was the fat lady singing, basically. And that for me is such a clever idea.
Sure.
From twofold. One, it is just that kind of highlighting the last day. Obviously, she was dressed in purple for Silcut Purple, but it's also that got a lot of traction with news.
Yeah.
And on ITV, BBC, Channel 4 at the time. I don't think you had Sky News yet. No, probably Sky News as well, but it was there. So even though
thing in it context, they did it in the environment, and they did it in the time, and the timing was right.
Yeah, it was exactly the right time, exactly the right message, and it was absolutely perfect. So those from out of home. My favorite radio one was one for Lexus. Called Lexus Switch, and it was quite an older one now. I believe it was in the late 2000s, but won an award for it, where they actually did a campaign showing how easy it is to switch from electric engine to a petrol engine. And the ad actually used two voices, but they were so similar that when they switched in the middle, you didn't actually realize it, and they tell you at the end, we switched halfway through, and it's only then that it hits you, and that has a bit of stopping power, and it's very difficult as well on radio, because radio specifically, if you're listening to it at home, you're doing other things, you're cooking, you're not really paying attention, so that actually stops and brings you back to the radio station, brings back to that advert, and that's you think about it for a second. And obviously same in the car, you'll be doing a million, well, back then you could talk on your phone while driving, but you'd be doing a million things, and that would again probably stop you. It's got that stopping power for it.
I guess also it'll next time you hear it and it starts, you probably listen more.
You're investing time in exactly. You are going to invest your time in listening to it. So it's a fantastic campaign. And then for me, the best one that was ever done, and I don't think I've seen anything like it for digital, was when Tipex did the Shoot the Bear campaign on YouTube. And that was the great amount of content and engagement with it. And it was just literally because they had thought of the way they delivered the message, the way they had actually written out the sentence was designed so you're naturally going to only select a few keywords to put in. And obviously, I'm sure a lot of people can know exactly what keywords they're putting in.
I mean, just to let people know what the ad is. So it's basically the ad plays out and a guy's hunting a bear. And it freezes, right?
Well, he basically says, shoot the bear. The guy's got the camera, says, shoot the bear, shoot the bear. And the other guy's holding the gun. He's about to shoot the bear. He turns around and he says, I don't want to shoot the bear. And he actually, gets on the screen and basically erases the word shoot using Tipex.
Yeah.
And says, tell me what you want me to do.
Yeah. And people would
And
type
at that
in.
point, you type in what you want them to do. And they've shot multiple scenes for multiple scenarios for everything you could possibly imagine.
Right.
PG and 18.
Cool.
And people would literally sit there for hours on end,
Cool.
just typing in different things, seeing if they can get it knocked out.
That's quite clever, because that was, how long ago?
That was about 2014, 2015,
All right, okay.
around
Not too
that.
far away, but it's almost scenario-based advertising, isn't it? It gets you engaged with it. People talk about stuff like Bandersnatch and with the scenario-based interactive things.
And this was before that.
It gets you interacting with the brand on some level. And you can't wait to then see the outcome, obviously, once you tap it in.
And and it becomes that thing where you get the word of mouth is so powerful, because once you see it, you are so going to tell your friends, guys, you have got to try this out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've not actually, to be fair, I've not seen another campaign that actually engages where you sit there and want to watch that advert and you want to play around with that advert to that degree. So from a digital perspective, they nailed it.
Sure.
Unfortunately, it's no longer available.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of, are there any sort of marketing examples or campaigns you've seen where you've thought that's bad or it's not worked? Obviously, the results show for themselves, but are there any campaigns where they've got it wrong, and why have they got it wrong?
Controversial, but I think a lot of airlines get it wrong.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no creativity in the work they do.
Yeah.
And on top of the lack of creativity, I think they don't know how to engage with their audiences, and a lot of them do not know how to engage. Going back to technology again, one of the biggest things with technology, thing that everyone's kind of talking, the buzzword at the moment is AI.
Yes.
So when you're looking at AI, there's now AI marketing automation, and that's such a clever, not cheap, but a clever tool that we use to really work with the customer or the consumer in such a way that we're so personalized to their needs. I've got Etihad, Emirates, British Airways, Virgin, all of them, Qatar Airways. I'm subscribed to all of them. And it's amazing how many times I'll receive campaigns emails, or I'll see campaign online where they'll say, why don't you fly from Scunthorpe, and go to Mozambique. It's like, well, no, wait a minute. First of all, I live in Manchester. So if I'm going to fly, I'm going to fly from Manchester.
Exactly.
And to have that disconnect with that customer just means you're more likely to unsubscribe from them. So they're really, really poor at that. They're very much focused around, and while they try to promote, obviously, the luxury of the travel, it's all the same message. If you take the brand away, and in British Airways case, you probably take the music away, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them.
Sure.
So for me, those guys have very, very limited creativity.
Just wondering what the reason is for that. Why?
I think it becomes more of that tunnel vision again.
Sure.
This is the way we've always done it. If you actually go online and go to like Monster or Total Jobs and actually look for, or go onto their websites and look for specific industries, sometimes you find you need to have 17 years experience to even work as a marketing executive in that industry. And you get a lot of that with FMCG. So you would never be able to work for Procter & Gamble if you have never worked for an FMCG company, for example. They do have some great training, but at the same time, the messages that they put out and the way they put it out becomes exactly the same. And you can almost take the brand away and you wouldn't be any closer to it.
I guess it comes back down to competition as well, raising the game. So if you want to fly from Manchester to Paris, you've only got a few options. Well, maybe a bit further, but you've got your budget airlines, but then you've got airlines are the only ones you can use. So it's like, if I was to book a taxi from here, I could pick 10 companies, whereas airlines aren't like that.
Yeah, few and far between.
Yeah, exactly. So if they were more like that, they may raise their sort of competitive nature.
And I think they did when the No Frills Airlines came out.
Yeah, when the budget ones came out.
That's when they really started to raise their game. I mean, ironically, if you look at British Airways now, it's actually gone the opposite direction, where it's actually pay a premium but compete on service with, Ryanair,
Yeah.
which is shocking.
Yeah.
But these are the bigger kind of companies. I think the challenges is for the smaller companies where they invest their money, where they have that finite amount of budget.
Yeah.
Most SMEs, sorry, most SMEs do not have enough money to throw it at every campaign in every media. So you have to be very, very specific about what you do and how you do it. And I think their challenges, and one of the reasons why I do what I do, is their challenges that if you speak to, SEO agency, they'll swear blind that that is what you need. You speak to a social media agency, they will swear blind that is what you need, and that's kind of what you get. And whilst they are right, I'm not saying that they're wrong in suggesting it, but it's about what you need more. And it's about which one's going to give you the best return on investment and which one's going to create a sustainable business. Because a lot of times what you'll find is that, whilst the agency has good intentions, they've also got targets to meet. That's the standard of it. The business development guys have got targets to meet. If they can get a client on board, sometimes that client doesn't get the help that they actually need because, it's not sustainable the way they're doing it.
Yeah, no, agreed. So to kind of moving on to maybe some of your areas of interest. You consult a lot on e-commerce projects, and you're looking at AI and how AI is affecting marketing and the e-commerce and the process and the automation of it. Obviously, there's different types of businesses, but a lot of people are e-commerce businesses. They sell online. They want the whole process to be online, whether you use simplified platforms like Shopify, this channel and this route. I mean, what advice would you give to people in e-commerce right now and what to look for, what they should be focusing on?
E-commerce, it needs to be about personalization. Yeah, you need to be able to. It's very difficult, again, because there's so many different companies out there. I mean, now people will kind of go towards ASOS, for example, because that's what they know. It's nice, cheap, it's easy. So you got to differentiate yourself. So you've got the disposable clothing on one side, and then you've got obviously the premium, custom-built shoes and things like that on the other side, and then everyone in the middle.
Yeah.
It is about how you personalize with the people, how you engage with your customers. The biggest challenge is to maintain that relationship without being overbearing. I mean, there's one, to be fair, I've actually sent an email to the marketing director. He's never got back to me. But the marketing director for Nasty Gal. Now, I was just obviously looking around.
The vape?
No, Nasty Gal are a clothing brand.
Oh, it's a clothing brand. Okay.
Yeah. Would you believe I get an email from them every day? Yeah, now obviously, I'm not the target audience, but that's irrelevant because it was me who actually signed up to the newsletter, so I'm not going to blame them for that. That would be a bit harsh. But I signed up to the newsletter. I get an email every single day.
Okay.
Yeah, that for me is annoying. Now, if I was a normal consumer, I would actually just say, to hell with this, up with this. I will not put unsubscribe, and that's it. And you've lost that link. You've lost that potential to engage. So that's the first part about it. Then we're looking at other businesses. If you've heard of Bowden. Yeah. So Bowden, big clothing brand. Their primary focus was kids. And yes, they've kind of moved away from it, but that's where the primary focus was. But me, unfortunately, my wife has decided that Bowden was a great place to shop when my son was born, and she invested a lot of my money in making sure that whoever ran the place, their kids went to university. But sorry,
it's all right. It's all right.
I'm chuckling in the background as well. But my son is 13. One, God's green earth, am I still getting emails about baby clothes? So there is no personalization. So it's like, listen, no, I'm sorry. You need to build plans in place and segment your audiences in such a way that when this is no longer satisfactory, they're no longer going to care. I mean, that's it. I've got 2 kids. One's 13, one's 10. It'll be a cold day in hell before I have any more kids. That I don't need it anymore. Now, okay, I might buy something for one of my friend's kids and laugh at him in the process, but that's it. I don't need it. So why are you still communicating? So where's the personalization in
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
How are you changing your website? And this is where AI comes into it, and AI is really good at doing this. Is you can start building those personas.
Yeah.
So what we do with it is we build personas based on all data points, and it's complete omni-channel. So you can do it online and offline as well, through phone or whatever. But ultimately, what if, taking a company like Bowden, what if we go in and we say, okay, let's take a look at your audiences. How are you segmenting your audiences? You know, revisit that from scratch.
Yeah.
Somebody like me who's no longer going to be interested, what am I going to do? I'll focus on buying stuff for me, men's clothes. Again, if I don't fall into that category, I'd have to shift it to maybe seeing what I can buy for the missus for her birthday, or for, you know, going out one day or something like. Or it might be a matter of completely saying, you know what, we are no longer suitable for you. It's just like if I go on Ryanair today, but then I win the lottery tomorrow, I damn well will not be going on Ryanair tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that's it. I'm no longer going to be their customer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where they need to be focusing it. But
Okay.
it also changes your website.
Yeah.
So you can build it in a way that, because it's got your IP, it's got all your data, knows everything about you. When I go onto the website, I don't see a big sale
Yeah.
for kids' clothes.
Yeah.
I see a big sale for men's clothes.
Yeah.
You know, and then if I'm buying something and I have bought it today, then, and Gap does this really badly because it happens to me all the time.
Okay.
With Gap, I'll go in and I'll buy something, and because I use my app and they've got my details, 2 days later I'll get a notification that there's a sale on, but I've just paid full price for it.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do as a customer? I'm going to return it,
Yeah.
or because I'm cheeky like that, I'll call up customer service. Say, listen, guys, do us a favor.
Yeah.
Can you just give me back some of that money?
Yeah.
I'll take that 25% back,
Yeah.
thanks.
Yeah.
And they will actually, they're putting rock in a hard place.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because they've told me about it, they shouldn't,
Yeah.
so they'll actually
Yeah.
pay me the money back.
Yeah.
So,
I guess from that perspective, you don't feel valued by Gap then.
well,
Yeah,
well, I mean, I feel great when I get my 25%
yeah,
back.
to get it back. Yeah.
But but obviously not everyone will do that. If
Yeah.
you don't, you're right. You feel like, wait a minute, you know,
Yeah.
that sucks.
Yeah.
But what it also does then is it changes your buying habit. And obviously we know, you know, the market at the moment, you know, when you're talking about stores, they're all struggling.
Yeah.
The retail sector is really, really struggling. So what you need to do is capitalize on it.
Yeah.
And it's these little tweaks that you can change. And because it is such a, you know, omnichannel approach where I can set it up with my app, I can set it up in the store,
Yeah.
I can set it up online, and so it's all linked together, you can maximize your returns per your customer.
Cool. Brilliant. So in terms of you've worked with a few startups as well, and you've been on some mentoring sessions. You also lecture at the uni, don't you? University as well.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just going to move on to maybe looking at startups and sort of a startup entrepreneurial journey. So how do you or what would you advise to people getting into business, basically, so they're sort of fresh coming into it?
It's always a challenge. I think budget your time and budget your budget, especially starting up.
Yeah.
You know, always you have to be very focused at what you do.
Sure.
And one of the hardest things about starting up, and especially starting up something like marketing consultancy. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, what is the message that you're giving out?
Yeah.
You know, and is that message clear enough?
Yeah.
You know, you're no longer going to be earning a wage where somebody's going to give you at the end of the month some money.
That's
So
right.
you're going to have to figure out a way to pay for the mortgage for yourself.
Yeah.
So that clear message, again, comes back to you're marketing yourself.
Yeah.
So you have to have a clear message, clear, concise message that somebody can immediately recognize what it is. But it's also, how do you switch it? Because in that scenario, you have to create, you know, a question and a pain for your potential customer.
Yeah.
If you don't create that, or if there is no pain, there is no need to buy. So that is what you're actually doing, and that is a key thing that you really have to focus on from a startup point of view.
Sure.
And lastly, I always say to startups is, you know, make sure that you're focused. Your entire business should be focused in one direction. You know, everyone should be doing, you know, focused on one objective, and there should be no veering halfway through. There tends to be a risk that, you know, you do something, think, oh, that's not working, so let's change it, let's try something else. But, you know, that doesn't always work. I mean, to give you an example, I had a client of mine, was in personal injury.
Okay.
Now, personal injury, fine, it's a dirty word, and
Yeah,
et cetera, et cetera.
yeah,
But if we use it as any other business, the reality is it's not one of those products that you buy every day.
no,
I'm not going to advertise and say, oh yeah, I really fancy some of that.
yeah,
You're going to wait until you have an accident, or you
that's
might
right,
have already had an accident.
that's right.
Now, I did a lot of research into the market and looked at all their database, 20,000 files. It was insane. But we actually found that there was a pattern between target groups and demographics and
Mm-hmm.
ethnicities and ages. And that means that when you're advertising and promoting or marketing to one specific target group, I was able to say, you're not going to see anything for 6 months. I need to get in touch with them now, and I need to start building that rapport with them now. But it is going to take 6 months for them to actually come to you if they have had an accident. If you don't follow that path, and you decide, I'm going to go do, it doesn't have to be obviously personal injury, it could be anything.
Sure.
But whatever product you're advertising, you don't know unless you know exactly how long it is for the sales journey and how long it is before someone buys from you. If you start switching paths, you're going to lose your
Yeah,
potential customers.
yeah, agreed, absolutely. If you were a startup, an entrepreneur with hardly any marketing budget, what would you advise?
Sell yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah, not in the bad way. But use LinkedIn. Depends obviously on the business,
sure.
but utilize everyone who starts up. People.
Yeah,
You've got a network there already.
true.
That network is you've got your close friends. I'd speak to them. If
Yeah,
you don't have any budget and you don't have any help, don't.
yeah,
They're the ones who can trial your product,
yeah,
test your product, test
yeah,
your service, whatever it is, and they're the ones who are actually going to critique it the best.
yeah,
Once you get into the first layer of having friends and family critique it, and you can finesse it at that point, speak to people on LinkedIn.
yeah,
I'm actually awful because I don't use it often enough, and I need
yeah,
to actually utilize it more. I never practice what I preach.
yeah,
But that's like, I think, kind of like doctors would
yeah,
stop smoking or lose weight.
yeah,
And it's always the fat doctor who tells you
yeah,
to lose weight, and the smoking doctor who tells you to quit smoking.
true.
So it's a similar scenario in marketing. It's no difference. But yeah, I mean, it is about utilizing that LinkedIn. So push your message out on LinkedIn. Show people what you're doing. Don't oversell as well. It's not about overselling on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
It is about creating connections with people, networking with people who they may not buy, but you don't know if they know somebody who's actually interested in the
that's right.
product.
Yeah,
So as long as you got a key message that's very concise, you are engaging with people through channels such as LinkedIn, and whatever business you're in, whatever industry you're in, I'm pretty sure there's a Facebook group for the city that you're in as well.
sure.
It doesn't matter what it is, there will be something.
Yeah,
So get involved with those, get out and do a lot of networking, and become memorable that way. And that's going to be the key factors to get your business off the ground.
cool. I think that's some really good, useful tips there. I think people seem to think we need a whole chunk of money, whether it's just for marketing, before we can get to X, Y, and Z. But there's a whole load of things you can do before that and set the base and do all these things that you mentioned, which people don't do, and they think they hit this barrier where they need 15 grand for Facebook ads, and we're not going to move forward without that. But there's a lot you can do, that you mentioned before that, and yeah, in time, once the budgets come in, you want to be getting into that stuff. But for pennies or for nothing, you can get yourself out there. You can get your own content from your own mouth out there without paying anybody anything. I mean, it doesn't cost anything for you to go on LinkedIn and engage with people and comment with people in that areas of your interest to get eyes onto you.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think one of the great examples, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Boot Buddy. Have you ever heard of Boot Buddy?
No.
So Boot Buddy, their videos are shockingly bad. I mean,
Okay.
they're so amateurish.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's like the first phone that had video on it, but it is very, very amateurish.
Okay.
But it is does exactly what it says on the tin, and all it does is it shows a guy playing football or his football shoes. And obviously, for those who play football, if you're going outside playing football on the grass, you know that shoe gets really, really muddy, and all the mud sticks in every nook and cranny, and you can almost never get it out without jet washing it.
Yeah.
And all he does is he takes this little device, and he just uses this little device to rub it over, the shoe. And it is like a little spray. You fill it with water, and it does exactly what it needs to do. It's simple, it's easy, it's a 3-second shot, and you see exactly what you need, and that's it. That's all you actually need. There's no money there. There's no spend there.
Yeah.
The key is if you're going to use social,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter how much money you don't have. It's about how are you going to engage with people. What would you put online? And I always say to people, I always say to my clients, is if you're going to post something, don't just post it for the sake of posting.
Sure.
Ask yourself the question: is this something that you would be interested in reading, watching, clicking on, sharing? If it isn't, then revisit what you're actually doing. If it is, then you probably got yourself a piece of content there, which is all it is, that's actually going to get people to notice you more.
Yeah, agreed. No, it's definitely true. So what are your kind of plans with marketing going forward? Say a year or two. What are you trying to achieve?
Oh, that's a tough question. That's a very tough question, actually. For me, I enjoy what I do.
Sure.
I enjoy working with different agencies and working with different clients and building that rapport and relationship with them.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity for me to learn. I always, I've kind of picked up this whole learning something new and trying to keep up to date with everything. So it is a great opportunity for me to learn. That's where I want to go. I'm currently working with clients overseas more. Cool. I want to bring it more in-house and bring it in-house back into Manchester. Besides the fact that it saves my phone bill, I think it's just easier to work locally as well. So objective is focus on more clients in the tech industry. Cool. Clients and startup. I love working with startups because there's so many challenges that they face, and there's so many different variables that will pop out of some magical hole in the ground that you're not even aware is about to happen. So that would be really where I would be in a few years' time.
Cool, good stuff. Sounds like a plan. What do you do when you hit barriers?
There's always a solution.
Yeah.
If you hit a wall, you can either climb over it, go around it, or dig underneath it. That's. So you hit a barrier. That's great. Just find a way around it. Mm-hmm. Find what is the barrier. Every barrier. I mean, to give you an example, I had a client who turned around and said, I've got a lot of people who complain about my service.
Yeah.
I don't care. Even though I get that, I still got 100% increase year on year. I can't remember what the figure was, but he was really happy about the increase, and his business is growing great. So as far as he's concerned, some of the complaints, even though they were like some seriously bad reviews, I mean, these are like the shocking, and that's how I actually ended up with him. I saw this review and I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to use this business, but I'm going to call him and see if he needs help. Sure. So that's a barrier. That for me was a massive barrier. Is this guy is not interested, but just having a conversation with him, this goes back to he realized that actually that he's positioning his brand completely wrong. Mm-hmm. So his brand is being positioned for one target group, whereas actually it should be a completely different target audience and completely different demographic. Yeah. And that conversation it's the key. It opens the door. Mm-hmm. So always look at from what is the pain, how can you relieve that pain? Sure. Simple as that.
Sure. How do you get over barriers in business in general? So we're similar backgrounds in terms of agency, so we're a project-based business as well. So projects are high some months and projects are low some months. Obviously we have clients who we have paying us regularly, but for the majority it's a project-based business. It comes in, you do it, get paid well, and move on to the next one. And that's just one pain point, but in terms of business itself and your startup journey, when you hit a barrier, what do you do?
So I mean, I've had obviously loads. This isn't my first business.
Sure.
So I've learned from my failures of my first business.
Fair enough.
And these failures were exactly what I said before, funny enough, which is that I didn't look at my target audience. Okay. And that is the biggest barrier. If you don't. The challenge that I have, and if anybody actually goes to my website, please don't go to my website, or or lack thereof of a website, is that I'm one of those people who can practice. I won't practice what they preach.
Sure.
And so that is a barrier that I face, is finding time. My biggest barrier is releasing time to actually do what I tell my clients they should find time to do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I still don't do it.
Yeah.
That's because I'm juggling a lot of clients and a lot of balls. The other barrier is, as you said, is, how do you maintain, a revenue stream when you have clients come and go, and obviously it's very much project based. It's about that relationship.
Sure.
And that is, for me, the important thing. You build a strong enough relationship where you can turn around to them and say no.
Yeah.
And you can turn around to your clients, and your clients appreciate and respect that no.
Yeah.
Then what you'll find is that you can actually cross-sell what you do, cross-sell your services, upsell your services. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. I've got clients who said, you know what, I want you for one project, that'll be it. Once we're done, well, it's been 18 months and I still work with them.
Yeah.
And the reason why I said, listen, we don't need you on a day-to-day basis, but we love your feedback and advice. Yeah. And so can you come once a month and come sit down with us and just go through our board meetings? Yeah. And be there to see what our marketing team that you help bring in, what are they, are they doing it right? What could they do differently? Yeah. And that is the big thing, is I never see a project as a short-term thing. I see a project as, once that project is done, you're moving on with that client to the next one. Right. Yeah. And like, the old saying is 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. Right. Yeah. Even in this environment, it still works the same.
What advice would you give to people about getting things done? So there's a lot, whether it's marketing people or whether it's entrepreneurs, it's all well and good having ideas, but execution is obviously key. In terms of from a mental approach of getting things done, how should one look at that?
I think it's about setting yourself actual targets.
Yeah.
One of the biggest challenges in going into you're starting your own business is that, there is no man, so there is no one to tell you, I need you to get X amount of revenue by the end of this month, or I need you to finish off this project. Yeah. There's no one to impress. I don't have my website. Because nobody cares. There's no one to tell me off and say, you have to build that in place. Cool. You have to be in that mindset where set yourself a target. So I need to have, when you're starting off, if you're making calls, even just to get, poach for clients or whatever it is, you have to start off saying, this is my target. This is what I expect to do. And it doesn't have to be daily, but by the end of this week, I need to have achieved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you have at least that, you have a building block to maintain that as you go forward. Sure. But it means that you won't be procrastinating. Yeah. And I have seen it time and time again where people do procrastinate. They take their time to say, this is what I want and I need it now. I need it now. Yeah. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they need. Yeah. They haven't they've worked backwards as well. Okay. So and that's the biggest challenge. Is they've worked from the end product rather than working from the beginning. So the message that they were giving out was cluttered. Yeah. Because of the way they were working. So all these factors, take them into account. Cool. And actually start putting the plan in place will stop you from that. That barrier effectively, and will help you actually succeed. Cool.
Yeah, agreed. I think execution is something in a skill in itself. I think people need to. There's a lot of reasons why people procrastinate, but one of them is they avoid the hard bit.
Yeah, it's like going to the gym.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go to the gym tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm actually paying someone to supposedly take me to the gym. He lost the bet now. He owes me 200 quid because I'm not going to the gym.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, but he's procrastinating because he's not even tried to get me there. But that's again the same kind of concept.
Sure.
So it works all around.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. I think we've chatted quite a bit. I mean, it'd be great to have you again and go into more detail on some of these things. But I think we've covered quite a few things which are going to be beneficial. It's going to be beneficial to people. I think they can take these gems or some of these gems and use it in their daily lives. So thank you, Rami, for
thank you
for doing
it. Was good fun.
No, it was. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Awesome. That brings this Vibe Business podcast to a close. But not to worry, the next episode will be out soon. Like, share, subscribe, follow. You know the drill. Thanks for listening.
Game over.